Hello and welcome to I Talk to Ghosts. I'm your spirited host, Jennifer, a professional medium and a collector of ghost stories. Thank you for being here tonight with me in the candlelight as I weave tales of ghostly occurrences. I love sharing the creepiest ghost stories I can find with you all year long. Ghost pets, haunted theaters, spooky bridges, haunted objects. It's all the more heart-pounding when I can share it with you. And also make sure to tell your spooky friend, you know the one, so that they can join us in the spooky chills as well. And as always, after exploring the spooky, there's time for the spiritual too. I have a fascinating spirit reading to share with you with my latest podcast guest. Then, join me for a mini seance as I open the space and call a spirit close. Who will come forward? Since you're attending, the spirit may be here for you. Find out if there's a message from the spirits specifically for you tonight. That's later on in the podcast. But for now, the terrifying, the ghosts are closing in right now. I live in South Wales and have had my fair share of unexplained happenings, this being one of the most abnormal. It happened in the summer of 2003. My friend Claire lived with her mom and her little brother Jack, who was about the age of 4. The house had 2 floors. When you go upstairs, you have her mom's room straight in front of you. Then as you turn right facing the landing, there are 2 more bedrooms to the left. The first bedroom was Claire's room, and next to her was her little brother's. It wasn't that late, probably around 10:30. Claire and another friend, Karis, and I were watching a movie in her room. The rest of the family were already in bed. Then, we heard what we thought was Jack talking. We found it quite amusing until he started to sound like a 40-year-old man. And Jack started screaming. We looked at each other and ran into his room. He laid there in bed with his light on, and his pajamas were on the floor. He was mumbling too fast to understand about the window and about something talking under his bed. We were slightly scared ourselves, so we called for Claire's mom. We all sat there, more calmly now, going through what happened. Jack's pajamas had been pulled off of him and thrown across the room. He was so young, he couldn't undo buttons yet. We cleared everything under his bed, looking for a toy that made noise, but we found nothing. He said that a monkey boy had tried to get out of his window. According to Claire, other children have stayed in that room and have mentioned the same thing. I don't know if that's true, but her brother definitely didn't seem like he was making anything up. Jack was moved to his mom's room, leaving his room empty. The girls and I returned to our film with what had just happened in the back of our minds until we went to bed. We laid there in the quiet, but somehow I knew something was going to happen. Then it did. Something was banging on the wall, and something jumping on Jack's bed. Too scared to move, we all screamed for Claire's mom. But she gave us no sympathy and told us to just go to sleep. couple of weeks ago, I had decided to go outside to have a quick cigarette and then head to bed. As I stepped out the back door and was about to put my headphones on, I heard a really weird noise coming from the front yard. It sounded like someone was snapping their fingers very loudly, followed by something jumping up and down. Shortly thereafter, I heard what sounded like horse hooves walking over my driveway. I thought there might be an animal, so I decided to go check. I walked around the front of the house and saw nothing. There were no animals, people, cars, or anything that would make noise. So I wrote it off as me hearing things and walked back around the house. A minute later, I heard the same thing. So I walked back around and there was still nothing. I was a little freaked out, but still smoking, so I decided to finish the cigarette and head inside. Almost immediately, as I walked around the house again, I heard the same thing, only louder. I basically sprinted around the house this time, and I saw this thing standing right in the street in front of my house. Under a streetlight, there was this massive, four-legged creature. It was about the size of a tall human, but the way it was moving was unsettling. It basically sat on all fours like a frog, with its back legs bent up, higher than its body. It had almost no hair, except a strip from its head to its tail along its back. It appeared to have a beak-looking appendage with rows of massive teeth inside, but not sharp teeth, human-looking teeth. It kind of half galloped, half sprung forward to move. I really don't know how to describe it. When it moved, it made the noises I had heard prior. I looked at this thing for a solid 10 seconds before I dashed back around the house and went inside. I did some research, and the only thing that even remotely resembles what I saw is an emaciated brown bear. But where I live, there are no bears for miles and miles. There are mountain lions and coyotes, but I've seen plenty of those over the years, and this thing didn't look like anything explainable. When I was a teenager, I used to hang out at my cousin's house quite a bit, as did many of our mutual friends. We had heard stories of the house being haunted, but didn't think much about it. One evening, a friend and I went over there to hang out, but my cousin wasn't home yet. So my aunt said we could hang out until she got home. We were sitting in her room talking while we were waiting for her to get home. Out of the blue, we heard a knock on the other side of the wall. At first, we thought it was her brother messing with us. He hadn't been home when we got there. It was just us and her mom, who was downstairs. But we thought maybe he had come home and snuck up the creaky stairs, since we didn't hear anyone walk up them. My friend and I started taking turns knocking back and forth with whoever was on the other side of the wall. Finally, I decided to get up, and I told my friend to knock on the wall again, and that I would open the door really quick and scare whoever it was. When I opened the door, however, no one was there. And there was absolutely no way anyone would have had time to run away or hide. We also used to see shadows moving around in the corner of the ceiling at night when the lights were off and we were trying to go to sleep. So, there's no doubt in my mind that the house was indeed haunted. Do you have a personal ghost story you would like to tell me? I may share it on the podcast. Email me at speaknow@italktoghosts.com. Welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. My guest this evening is Kayle. Kayle, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here too. I do some prep work and things like that, and I know you have multiple people on the other side.
Before we did this recording, I met with my dad to see how many of my family have died just in my lifetime, and it's over 20.
Yeah. I have to ask you, anyone who has passed, did they have some kind of injury or issue with their collarbone?
I had an aunt who almost died in a car accident. I think it was before I was born. She survived it, but it led to permanent arthritis damage.
Yeah. Maybe this, and it's funny you say arthritis because it feels like this bone pain, and it was a little bit in my rib as well. And usually when I have some kind of physical sensation, it's something that someone is trying to physically communicate something to me. Do you have some introverts in your family?
Yeah, there's a few introverts. I'm actually counted as one of the introverts as well, so there was a few of us.
Yeah, me too. Definitely picking up on that solitary hermit type energy. There is one woman who is coming through. She came through first with a lot of loving comfort energy, almost feels a bit like a teacher, like she was that kind of guider type personality in her life. That wasn't necessarily a teacher, but someone who was just really good at perhaps advice or sheltering someone, where it's just like, here, you're in a good space, you're with me, everything's cool, let me take care of it. Kind of loving, motherly type of older energy. Can you connect that with someone?
The first person to come to my mind is one of my aunts. She died when I was in either the very end of middle school or the very beginning of high school from cancer. And we lived with her after Hurricane Katrina, and she gave us a place to stay.
Oh my goodness. I was picking up on hot, humid energy and murky water.
Yeah, I'm from New Orleans.
Okay.
And, I'm 11th generation New Orleanian.
Because I was like, what is that? And is that an alligator? You know what I mean? Or crocodile. I don't know what's down there. But yeah, I wrote hot, humid, murky water. So definitely there. Okay. Oh, let me bring this up. May or may not be connected with your aunt. Someone drink soda all the time?
So actually that exact aunt really liked Pepsi.
Okay.
And that is a horrible crime if you're from the deep south to like Pepsi instead of Coke. She's the one who introduced me to Pepsi and brisk iced tea and got me drinking both those as a kid. Okay. And it annoyed my dad so much because it was so hard to find Pepsi.
That is really funny because when this came through to me, and you never know how information is going to be presented, I tasted it in my mouth, and I am a Coca-Cola person when I drink it, but I wrote down Coke and slash soda. Like it was almost felt forbidden for me to write down Pepsi. So yes, that was coming through loud and clear. I think with your aunt, I was getting the sense of, you mentioned cancer, and so she probably, I was also getting the sense of chemicals making someone sick. Mm-hmm. So that could either be the treatment or perhaps something in life she was exposed to that caused the cancer. I don't like to really guesstimate it too much, but yeah, I'm almost like tasting it in my mouth. Medicine, a lot of medicine. Mm-hmm. But that also could be multiple people coming through. Let me see. Did you lose someone who was more like on a peer level with you? Younger, like cousin, or getting a male energy who's presenting himself kind of young, kind of pointy, kind of sarcastic?
The family member I told you that died 2 days ago was 21.
Well, let's see what he has to say, okay? How do I present this? Did he have some struggles?
It was suicide.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry. Yeah, he wrestled with things. Even when people were celebrating things, he felt really pulled down. He obviously, he's expressing that he knows the impact of what happened, and he's sorry about that. He really is. He's bringing up patterns of things. Like, I think that those close to him would notice a pattern with him and how things went, and he just couldn't break out of that. And, I'm really sorry for your family's loss. And, the first thing he showed me was he did have a sense of humor. It also had a sharp edge to it. But I think he wanted to show that first as a bit of a offering of, hey, it's still me. And if I can show you any positive aspect of myself, he's like, I had a wicked sense of humor. Know that he's okay. I wouldn't be surprised if those really close to him, he sent them a couple signs to let them know that he's okay. So if they're open to looking out for that, he will be there with that.
That's the side of my family that's not very big on spiritualism or spirituality, so
yeah,
might be hard for them to see.
Sure. He's agreeing with the issues there. There are some issues.
Yeah.
When a soul passes over like that, I get the sense that there is a period of healing and comfort in the spirit world, in a different process than someone else who went through a different experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Does he say that he's happier now?
I don't think he's seeing it as a choice like that. He's seeing the perspective of wishing he had the insight to break those patterns and break out of, and we're not just talking about his patterns. We're talking about family structure and patterns in that family, and the world around him had a structure to it that was not helping his internal world as well, if that makes sense. So, it's not a question of being happier now. He has the perspective of seeing, wow, I wish I could have broken out of this. If it's the only world you know, it's the only world you know, and I think when we pass over, we gain a perspective of objectivity. I can tell you he's certainly okay. I think a lot of people worry about suicide and what happens to the soul and everything, and that is a whole nother conversation.
That was literally all his dad's post was on Facebook about the death.
Yeah, as human beings, we like to set up rules and structures, and if you do this, this is going to happen, and all this and that. And in truth, people set up rules to help them understand things that are unknown. And ultimately, you can't know the unknown. But you could have a lot of belief in it so that you feel secure in it. And Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Was there anyone else who you were hoping would come through for you today? We'll see if they're out there for you.
I was hoping, like, either for my grandfather.
Yeah.
Or for one of my aunts in particular.
Someone is coming through with this overwhelming emotion of love for you. Was your grandfather really good at seeing your point of view?
Nope.
No?
He was a very stubborn person. It might be someone else coming through.
Oh, no. Okay, this is what I'm feeling. I interpret it as someone defending you.
He was protective.
Protective.
Yeah.
Okay. He is telling me... Okay. Is there a lot of strife in your family?
Oh yeah, his funeral was the most stressful event of my life. It was so bad, even the priest gave a speech on forgiving your family members.
Okay. He's like, here's his advice to you now. Because he's bringing up the family drama and how to navigate that. And he's like, honey, you do you. And you've got this. And you don't have to engage. You know, even if someone comes in swinging, you can be like, whoa, this isn't what I expected. I owe it to myself to talk to you later. You know, you don't have to engage. And let's see if your aunt, so she passed away a while ago?
I was about 15 when she died.
She used to take you out somewhere?
I would go to Japanese restaurants and stuff to eat with her.
Oh, I wrote down favorite restaurant. Oh, you can't really see it. favorite restaurant ritual.
Yeah, we would take her to either Japanese or Chinese restaurants in New Orleans and everything.
She's telling me that you were her favorite.
That would make sense because my father was one of her favorites and she would call him all the time. And he was one of the only words that she could say in English was to call him over.
She seemed to know herself really well. Just really had the structured understanding of herself.
Yeah, she was very old school Japanese lady. So she never really learned English as well. So it was like we were learning Japanese to help talk with her more. But she lived alone for 30 years in America, unable to speak the language.
Yeah, wow, that's some self-reliance there. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. She knew herself, and she relied on herself. And I wouldn't be surprised if she needed to be respected. Does that make sense? Yes. You couldn't disrespect her.
No, that would go against, like, Bushido. It would go against Japanese culture to disrespect your elders. She was extremely firm that we follow, like, old-style Japanese culture. Yeah. She earned that respect. There's just no tolerance for anything else, you know? That's just how it was. Okay. So I do have some messages that I wrote down for you. Okay. This might even be coming from her. It says, know yourself through and through. Okay. Move through life with that sense of center. Ignore the external. Like all that info coming in that doesn't jive with you, do not take it in personally. Do not take it in as self-judgment. Know yourself. Center yourself. Okay. Inner wisdom is the key. And you know. Okay. So is that something that resonates with you? Like good timing to hear this right now? Yeah. Okay. Well, Kayle, I want to thank you so much for meeting with me today. Before we go, a couple of things. You have a podcast as well. Yes, I do.
Macabre Matters. Do you want to tell others about it really quick so that they can check it out? Let's share the spooky.
Of course. So I am one of 2 hosts now from Macabre Matters. Our second season begins in October, and we do history, lore, spooky paranormal stories, all that. And we kind of do it where one person's the narrator, they tell the whole story, and after we're done telling the story, we sit down with our teas and we just talk about what we just learned and our thoughts on it.
Oh, wonderful. Where can people find it?
We are on, I know for sure, Spotify. We're probably going to also start video for Spotify soon.
Oh, fun.
Google Podcast, Overcast, Pandora. I know we're like in Stitcher. I know from our analytics we're found on there.
Well, awesome. I hope others tune in, and I'm certainly looking forward to October. And speaking of the spooky,
Yes.
do you have a personal ghost story that you would like to share?
I have so many.
Listener ghost story.
One that I really enjoy because it's like extremely scary. And I did tell it on my own podcast. So this is a like little tie-in.
Okay.
So people get to hear it twice now.
Okay.
So it started when I first left New Orleans and I moved up here to St. Louis. I moved into an apartment complex with my sister who left with me, and it felt fine there at first. I was watching a movie on Netflix, and to this day, I believe they were reading from a real grimoire for the movie. Like, they didn't fake it. That was a real one. Because as the movie's going, they're like just full on reading this text. Not editing it or cutting between it. You can tell they're just reading it line for line. And the energy in my apartment started feeling really weird and really uncomfortable to be in. So, I never watched that movie again. I really think it did something to my apartment because of what happened after. I had my one and only experience of sleep paralysis at that apartment, where I was working as a teacher with kids, and the image that I saw that was holding me down was some of the kids had crawled onto my bed and were holding my limbs down, and one of them leaned down into my face, and all they kept saying was, "Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep." And I was just laying there in a sleep paralysis for who knows how long.
Oh, so creepy.
Yeah, and another incident that happened in the apartment was my sister and I's rooms were right across from each other, and she always slept with her door open because of her cats liking to come in while she was sleeping. I woke up one morning, her door was closed, so I went to just go open it so that the cats could get in if they needed to, and she had locked her door to her bedroom. So I thought that was weird. So when she woke up, I was like, "Why'd you lock your door?" She's like, "You don't remember last night?" No. What happened last night? And apparently, she had woken up at night at some point to go into the bathroom, which is right between our rooms. And I am standing in my open doorway with all of it dark behind me. And she's like, "Oh, hey, you're up. What's wrong?" And I just was dead silent. I wasn't saying anything. And she called my name. And I still wasn't saying anything. Then she said I took a step forward, and that's when she ran to her room, closed, and locked that door.
Wow. Oh
So,
my gosh.
Yeah, after that I did like cleansings every single week in that apartment until the lease ended, and I moved out, and I've never returned to that part of St. Louis.
Oh, wow. Did you ever have a history of sleepwalking before?
No. I called my dad immediately. I was like, "Did I ever sleepwalk?" He's like, "Nope. The most you've ever done in your life is sleep talk. You've never slept walk, and you've never had sleep paralysis."
I almost wonder if it was you. You know, it could have been something mimicking you.
Yeah. It was creepy. So that's like one of my favorite stories because it's the creepiest one I have.
It's absolutely creepy. And I would ask you for the movie. I'm sure some listener out there is screaming, "What's the movie? What's the movie?" But I don't want to know.
That's why I had said its name. I'm like, do not look it up, because if it does turn out to be
right,
me watching this Netflix movie caused all this, I don't want to be responsible for all the new haunted houses there are.
Right. It's like, sorry, everyone. We're not going to go there. Thank you so much. What a great story.
No problem. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Would you like a free spirit reading with me and record your reading for the podcast? Sign up for your chance to be selected by visiting italktoghosts.com/guest. And as an added bonus, if you don't want to leave your reading up to chance, I'll let you in on a secret. There's a discount offer to book a private session with me, so you can book a date and time for certain. Visit italktoghosts.com/guest for more details. I can't wait to meet you. Hello and welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts, and thank you for joining me around my seance table this evening. I have a message from the spirits. Tonight I'm going to be working with black moonstone. The properties of this stone are very calming, and its frequencies are said to resonate with the crown chakra and the third eye. So what I like to do is ground and center, open a space to call someone close. Joining me tonight is a woman. She's definitely giving off friendship vibes, mother vibes. If you're listening, I believe she was your mom. She's showing me that she really loved plants, and she had this amazing sunroom in the back of her house that had a couch in it and some lovely plants, and I'm seeing that on occasion you got to take a nap in there during a rainy day. That sounds very lovely. Your mom is telling me that she was a really good singer. I can kind of hear her voice now. Lovely, like a bell. And you can sing as well. And the two of you used to watch those singing competition shows together. And I wouldn't be surprised if she sang in her church choir or something like that. It was a lovely form of expression for her, and she was always singing while doing work or being in her house, and she just really had a lovely voice. I see her smiling, dark hair, red sweater, a great source for emotional support. And yeah, very comforting woman. Her message for you this evening is that she sees you exploring meditation and other metaphysical practices, and she really wants to encourage that in you, and that she sees you diving into a spiritual path, and that this is something that you felt called to for a while now, but you've always felt a little bit like you needed validation or some kind of invitation or someone to kind of guide you, because when we explore spirituality on our own, we can kind of feel a little unsure and unanchored. But she sees you as flourishing in your spirituality and really finding deep connections and purpose in life in general. And don't be afraid to just explore and let it feel new, and trust when it feels familiar at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm having some challenges in putting words to the feelings that are being expressed to me. Explore that spiritual side of yourself. Trust that it is real and it is true, and that you are valid and you belong on this path. You'll know what I mean. So if this message connects for you tonight, please reach out because I would love to know. I think I'm going to leave it at that. So thank you. Book a medium reading with me if you have a past loved one you would like to connect with. A spirit reading can be an amazing and never spooky experience. I strive to give you specific details that align only to you and your loved ones. Curious? Visit italktoghosts.com for links to book with me. I can't wait to meet you. And with that, dear listener, we've reached the end of this episode of I Talk to Ghosts. I hope you've enjoyed the spirit work that I've shared with you this evening, as well as those creepy, haunting ghost stories. Do you have a personal ghost story you'd like to tell me? I would love to hear it. In the meantime, wherever you wander off to in this world or the next, just remember, come back and visit with me. Have a lovely evening and good night.